story about some Utah musicians who were supposed to go to Haiti, then COVID happened and they couldn't go, and they did some online duets with some of their students. So for this I had 2 Zoom interviews, 2 Zoom-like interviews, low-res Facebook video, and some file, and that's it. So everything is happening out of town, overseas. There's nothing I can shoot here. What do I do with that? What I did was I kind of reframed it. The key to this story for me was this one soundbite.
It was like he was crying out in the wilderness by himself with his cello.
I heard that, and I kind of pictured the video, the Facebook video, in the phone, in the dark, backlit. Now I've got this vertical video, so I've got all this space. What do I do with that? Well, I can use that space to add context, to add a map. I could add a soundbite about the guy. I could show a relationship. I could write by your side and show by your side. I also borrowed a slider, one of these from the station, and so I could add a little motion to these shots. So I could transition from one video to another. There was this shot. The camera moves from video to a map. I used After Effects and I tracked the motion of the map, and I added an animated line to show the route Montero took. I really like that shot. Of course, this takes planning. It takes time. Because of the language barrier and the unreliability of internet service in Haiti, it took some planning and a couple of tries just to make this Zoom call. And actually the Utah musicians themselves at the time were not in Utah, and where they were, they did not have good Wi-Fi. So I couldn't do a Zoom call, so they had to actually shoot themselves. I had to interview them on the phone, and I had to kind of coach them through that. We even remotely scouted locations for the shoot.
And then there's this other area with the tire swing. That's also somewhat picturesque. I could just feel his...
And I want to talk about this soundbite. Now, because I wasn't there, I wasn't always sure if they were rolling tape or not. I was recording audio on my end just so I could log tape. And once they mailed me the interview, there was this one soundbite I wanted to use, but it turned out they didn't record it. But I had my audio. And
I could just feel his isolation and his loneliness.
And it kind of sounded like a bad phone call. So I put it under video of a phone.
I could just feel his...
And it kind of fit. So this took planning, it took time, it took a willingness not to accept the video as is. And so instead of this, I had this. Cellist Montero Valbrun, isolated by an ocean, by poverty and a pandemic, plays alone.
I noticed that Montero was posting a lot of videos by himself.
And just talking about it leaves Yuki McQueen...
It was like he was crying out in the wilderness by himself with his cello.
Unable
and
to speak. The first time McQueen went to Haiti...
Nothing prepared me for the heat, the smells.
She was blown away...
Wow.
by...
all that noise went away.
The students.
And it was all about the music.
She and other symphony members were there to teach at a music camp.
These kids were really inspired and inspiring.
And now return each year for a workshop run by the Utah musicians themselves.
What the program has done for music in Haiti is extraordinary.
It was there they met Valbrun.
I can say this is a huge opportunity to be able to work with professional musicians.
This kid practices like 10 hours a day.
Second finger, third finger down.
Who, despite the fact that you just don't learn the cello by watching YouTube...
It'd be like looking at a baseball player and deciding, oh, I want to be in the MLB. You know, there's no way to do that.
Did. Who didn't let a 3-hour motorcycle ride and an armed holdup keep him from that workshop.
The drive, the determination, the desire is so inspiring.
But then came the pandemic, and Valbrun was playing solo.
I could just feel his isolation and his loneliness.
But McQueen thought he didn't have to.
Wouldn't it be fun if we could collaborate?
So she started organizing online duets. McQueen and cellist John Eckstein and the students.
For me to be in isolation, I really empathized with that sense of, you know, being there in your room alone and staying motivated and just reaching out to people.
These aren't, of course, true duets. Performances are recorded separately and married in a computer. But having someone by your side, if only virtually,
Yes, we still have hope. It's this hope that gives us life.
to Valbrun and others, no doubt means a lot. Peter Rosen, KSL 5 News.